Welcome to WP-Tonic. You know what, Jonathan? We're live for YouTube. I forgot to say that. This is the YouTube behind the scenes, right? And we've already checked
Yeah.
our voice. We're good. Jonathan just wants to get on with the show. Solid. Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 41. Today it's just Jonathan and Bill. Well, Jonathan, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we're going to talk about Rainmaker. You know, we had Brian Clark on a few weeks ago on the live show, the CEO of Copy Blogger. So we're going to talk a bit about this new release of Rainmaker, and also we're going to talk about some of the competition that it's facing. I'm going to go through. I'm going to look at HubSpot, a product called Hatchback, and your beloved Infusionsoft, Bill.
Infusionsoft. Oh, Infusionsoft?
Infusionsoft.
Oh,
Is
yes.
that not what?
I didn't know that. Oh, boy. Good. So I want to do a quick update. But before we go to updates, we want to thank, we had 4 people rate the show, and it really drove up the show. So we thank you for on iTunes going on to rate. We went from about 12 to 17. And Jonathan, do you want to go over who rated us?
I think you got that bit. I think you said from 12 to 17. I think you meant from 17 to 12, didn't you, Bill?
No, from 12 to 17. We had 12, now we're 17. We can slap each other a few times.
All right, that's fair enough. I'm just checking. So yeah, I'm going to butcher these people's names, but we've had some really kind words. And Glenn, how would you pronounce it?
Let me look. I can say the names. I just, oh, that's a tough one. Glenn Lisbrowitz. Sounds like German.
Sorry, Glenn, we're butchering your name, but he said, Jonathan Bill pulled together a top-tier experts from across the world WordPress, broader digital marketing spectrum. Must listen if you want to break down some of the trends shaping the industry.
Oh, that's too really nice. Little does he know the truth, though.
Yeah, he does that. And then we got somebody called, he's just called Thriving
Entrepreneur. Thriving. I can say the name, you read it.
Yeah. All right. And it's a great and easy way to begin to understand how to use WordPress. I'm not too sure about that.
That's a bonehead. Yeah, we got it down here.
Oh, and what's the next one?
Scale to Success Podcast. I like that name. Scale to Success
Podcast. It's quite good, isn't it?
My nose in WordPress.
Nose is in WordPress almost every day. Yeah, I know the feeling. It's great. It's great. There's a podcast that focuses on it. What the nose
nice
business is doing. Great content, great host. Nice job.
This is my favorite. The last one just came in today.
Yeah, and the name?
Yiddish 123.
I like.
Thanks, Yiddish.
I like how you and your guests don't just go with the flow. There's no chance of that. Yiddish, not with Bill involved. It's absolutely no chance of popular information about working and what's not. Good insight and pushback. Well, you must be talking about me, Bill.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what. That's enough entertainment, or pottertainment, or whatever it might be. Very good. Hey, we want to thank everybody for those reviews, because we found that we're getting some good volume and numbers, but it really takes reviews to start driving you to the top. We were up at inside 20 in our category last week. So we thank you. And really, these reviews help. So keep on sending them in, and we appreciate it. Also, I have a site that if you have a podcast, throw it on there. We'll talk about it. It's called, on Facebook, it is, and I actually put a website up, but on Facebook, it is Podcaster's Home. So anyway, that's enough. Jonathan, let's get into the information. I'm going to start out with a little bit of news, what's going on, and you can correct me a little bit, but this is really important. Oops, you know what I just did? Oh, I hit, okay, there it is. WordPress, I'm on WordPress.org right now, and their first little blog up is WordPress 4.2.2 Security and Maintenance Release. This is a really important maintenance release that needs to go out because there's some holes, and they want everyone to upgrade. It says, this is a critical security release for all previous versions. We strongly encourage you to update your site immediately. Now, you and I know that there's times when you don't want to update. And that's when you want to test it maybe on a secondary site before you do the final update, especially if it's your money site because of the plugins, right?
Yeah, I would strongly suggest that if it's an important site, that you have a staging, what is called in the in the trade a staging site,
Yep.
and really you should have that staging site on the same server as your production site, because you need exactly the same server setup. And the only way to really guarantee that is to have that staging site on the same. And like people like WP Engine, that they've got a very sophisticated live and staging environment. But if you could do the same almost any, you could have a subfolder or a subdomain on the same server area, and you could just do it manually. The people that sponsor us and who I have my WP-Tonic site on, SiteGround, they have they also have a inbuilt production and staging environment. But you can literally do the same on any hosting provider.
So, and finally, it says WordPress 4.2.2 also contains fixes for 13 bugs from 4.2 on. So you have to keep stuff updated, but that's very good advice. The other thing I'd say too is always use premium, high quality plugins.
Well, yeah, and do a bit of research before, and just don't use them on your production. If the production site is important, just don't throw them on there without some testing.
Yep.
You got, soon as the site becomes important, you just got to be a bit more. The plugins are great. It's one of the strengths of WordPress, but I don't know whoever said it. Great power comes great responsibility.
Yep. I have lots of screw around sites. My main screw around site's bluffbluftv.net, and it looks goofy, but it's got all my normal plugins are there, and it still works.
It's nice to know.
It hasn't blown up yet.
That's nice to know, Bill. That's nice
so you can go look at it. It looks stupid. If you want to see a stupid website, go to blufftv.net. If you want to see a real nice website, look to our latest podcast website. WP-Tonic.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention it, Bill. We got a new website for WP-Tonic, and I think it's fully responsive. It should look good on your iPhone, your Android, or your tablet.
It's very nice. Looks very nice. Jonathan did all the work.
Yeah, Bill kind of nagged me, and he was right to nag me. I was being a bit resistant, but I listened in the end, Bill, didn't I?
Yeah, it works well too. The new site's good. It's nice. Tell us about that site a little bit. What's the theme?
I can't remember, but it no, I can't actually. I've got a lot of stuff going.
I know you're busy. I tried to get him to use Genesis theme frameworks, but it's not. It's like something off of.
I just didn't have the time, Bill. Basically, but Pippin Williams put me onto it because the great Pippin Williams of digital download fame. He put me onto it, and it's the theme that they use for Applied Filters podcast. And I liked it and asked him where he got it from, and he put me onto it, and he said it was very well coded, and they've been very happy with it. So I thought, if that comes from Pippa Williams, that's good enough for me.
And it is. It's a really nice. It is a very, very nice. I don't know. It's the first I've ever seen it, but for a podcast framework, it's beautiful. So if you want to find out what it is, go to wpthemedetector.com and throw in WP-Tonic.com and you'll find it. So I'm putting it in. Anyway, Jonathan, why don't you get on with the show while it's pulling up our theme?
Um,
We only have, let's see how many, we're up at 9 minutes now. So we've got actually 11 minutes to put out content.
We're still going, Bill. I'm sure this will just be amusing for our
Podcaster. You know what the name of the theme is? It's a tough one. It's called Podcaster, version 1.4.8. And it's by
That's a really difficult
themestation.net.
That's a difficult name, isn't it?
License is GNU public license version, whatever. And how long did it take you to convert that over?
I haven't done too much customization, but it just took a lot of work, to get all the photographs and get all the old data into it and make sure there's not too many missing corrupted links. It was just getting all the old stuff in from the previous website. And I chose to start from a totally fresh install of WordPress. I didn't want to migrate too much. I just wanted a pure, fresh start. And that's what we got. And I think it's going to be a good platform from our amazing shows that come in the future, isn't it, Bill?
And real quickly, some of the plugins are Ninja pop-up for WordPress, opt-in cat WP social media widget, WP meeting team shortcut V2, simple social icon, and of course, WordPress for SEO by Yoast. Plus, I'm sure there's some other ones on there.
Yeah, I've tried to keep them down. Yeah.
Well, anyway, drive on. I won't interrupt you again. I'll try not to.
No, please do, Bill. You normally do.
You're being so nice.
It doesn't normally stop you at all, whenever you want to. I've got used to it. But no, your contribution is most welcome, Bill. So basically, we're going to look. On our live show about 2 to 3 weeks ago, we had Brian Clark from Copy Blogger, and obviously they've got a new product called Rainmaker, and we had a bit of discussion with Brian, didn't we? And it was an excellent show, wasn't it, Bill?
Yeah. Oh, we've had great guests on, really good guests. I mean, the quality of our guests is second to none, the best in the WordPress industry.
Yeah, I don't want to make, they're brave people, aren't they?
They're very brave. And coming to our live, when you listen to the live show, that's some of the best around.
Yeah. And so he came on, and Rainmaker, it's been around for a while, but they had a major update, and it's practically a new product. So we're going to look at Rainmaker, but Rainmaker has some competition.
That's weird. We just want to break for a second. We're going to have to start over. You just broke on the...
Did I?
Stop. Give me silence. Okay. You go back and start to say Brian did something, or Brian this. Rainmaker, Brian this. Okay.
Yeah, Brian Clark came on to talk about Rainmaker. And basically it was a great show. Bill.
We can stop in a second. We can cut this out. It'll be on the YouTube site. Let's start over. So we had Brian Clark on the show, and he was a great guest.
This is down to me, Bill. I apologise. What I've done is I put the cable in, but I'm running this on hi-fi by mistake.
Well, it sounds fine.
Yeah, but it might. All right, we'll continue.
You know what?
But
you're not as clear as normal, but it's fine. It's definitely acceptable for the podcast.
Yeah, sorry about that, Bill. That's down to
folks, me. You're watching on YouTube. This is actually good training as much as anything if you're creating a podcast, because we don't cut the YouTube. So you can see what happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, and you can see where Jonathan makes the balls up.
What's the problem?
Basically, I normally run it on the cable, the internet cable.
You're using your internet. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, so shall we start, Bill? Right, so I'm going to say Brian Clark.
Let me lead into Brian Clark. And of course, we had Brian Clark on the show, who did a great job. And tell us a little more about your feelings about Brian and FM Rainmaker, excuse me.
Yeah, that's their kind of podcasting arm of Rainmaker, but Rainmaker itself is a platform for that you get like 20 Genesis-based themes that have been heavily adapted to work in the Rainmaker framework. And they do the hosting as well, and it has other elements, like you can do I'm looking for the word, management. If you wanted to sell digital products or products, they have that functionality inbuilt into the system. And it has a back-end system where you can edit. It's not a pure drag and drop there's some drag and drop elements, but they say that you don't need any coding. I don't agree with that. They do a 14-day trial, which I took up.
You did do it. Good for you.
Yeah, but I've got to make sure I've got to cancel it.
Wow.
because it's not compared to, it's not cheap, but I'm not prepared to say it's expensive. It really depends
But you don't need it.
of
You
the.
don't really need it because of what you do.
Well, I think
You,
I'm going to get on to that actually, Bill, because I understand what you've just said, but I
yeah.
think I think one of its great strengths. Um, I think you've got to be reasonably serious to want to start down this road. But I think if you're already through social media or you're basically well known in your particular industry, it might be a good choice because
Mhm.
one of the benefits of using a system like this is I feel it kind of makes you focus on the content a bit more. Um, I'm on my 50. I think I'm on my 50th to 60th professional website now, and I must have worked with over 30 to 40 different clients now. And I would say the bulk of them have what I call they have a tendency not to want to focus on content. They want to focus on design. And don't get me wrong, design is important, but also good quality content is really important as well. And they do have a tendency not to want to look at that because
Yeah,
that
content's the
is,
job of the end user. And if they're a big business, they're gonna have a social media director who generates that content. You're gonna have a technical expert in the WordPress site. But one thing they were talking about FM Rainmaker was the concept of having somebody, a designer, programmer like yourself, hook that company into FM Rainmaker for the future, and then sort of be their coach, mentor, help them through that process. So,
yeah, that could be a bit.
yeah,
But content is always, and what something like Rainmaker makes you do is um, you can do a bit of adaptation to the template, but it makes you focus on the content. Um, so that's one of the strengths. But it's got some competition as well, Bill. Brian made it clear, I think, through his remarks, that one of their targets for Rainmaker is HubSpot. Have you heard of
yeah,
HubSpot, Bill?
absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah, I've got
And
it.
what do you know?
I
What
got an
do you?
account. I looked at it. It's a self-managed account, and you can do marketing on it. You can run your whole business basically on it, right?
Yeah, that's about right. HubSpot has been in the market for about 3 to 4 years. It's VC financed. They obtained about $100 million of finance. Um, basically, it's not open source at all. It's an enclosed system. Um, basically, it has a drag and drop um, back-end system around. It has a certain library of that can be classified as themes, and it has a drag and drop editor. It has a module that you can set up landing pages. It has. I particularly don't think the actual the themes are that particularly fantastic. It has a pretty powerful email inbuilt system, which is I've actually utilized this system when I've had clients that were using it and they were asking me to set it all up and do some work for them with it. Um, it has quite a powerful email marketing platform inbuilt in it. Unlike Rainmaker, it hasn't got a membership functionality. Um, it's quite funny, really, Bill, because when you look at the two products, they have fundamental weaknesses in certain areas and strengths in others. Like what I've just said, HubSpot hasn't got a membership functionality, but
Oh, it doesn't. I'm
Rainmaker,
surprised.
no, Rainmaker doesn't have a email inbuilt email system.
That's crazy.
Um, well, they do.
You
Well,
must be a way to take
they
that domain and create email somewhere.
yeah, but it hasn't. What I mean, it hasn't got a professional level email system inbuilt into Rainmaker. They
Okay.
they say that They say that they're developing that, and it will come out in the near future. I'm not totally sure that it's really. I think the concept of a global one program is attractive to people, but I also think there's drawbacks because if you get this multi level system, so, they've only got so many resources, so they're going to aim their resources at the parts of this larger program where they think they're going to get the biggest benefit to the users. So certain other parts of the system are going to be neglected. That's just a reality. So I'm not sure having one of these just one centralized system, it's easier to manage in some ways, but I think you've got to be aware that there could be some drawbacks because you can find, and I think you've found that quite has happened with another program, Infusionsoft.
Okay.
And you've been trying to learn that, haven't
Hey, John,
you,
yeah,
Bill?
before we go into Infusionsoft, or some people call it Confusionsoft, my friend just bought it yesterday. Before we get there, we're about 21 minutes, and we're probably going to cut out at least a minute and a half. Let's try to keep this to 23, 24 minutes because we're going to put a commercial at the end. So we've got three or four. You can beat on Infusionsoft for a few more minutes, and I'd like to talk a little bit about next week's show with you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Start beating. Beat.
No, I'm just saying,
No. Infusionsoft, it was just tough. I'll add something to it. Go ahead.
So I was going to let you say it because you've been using it. My experience
tell us your experience, what you think.
Well, my experience was last time I had the pleasure of dealing with it was about a year ago when I was freelancing for a Chicago web agency, and they had a number of their clients that were using Infusionsoft, and I had the great pleasure of trying to sort out some technical problems with that particular platform. But it might have changed a lot more since, so you've got more up to date. So we did agree that we'd keep this to 23, 25
I got to say a couple of things. I got to say something about Infusionsoft. Go ahead.
Can I just... so basically, next week, we're going to go in a little bit more detail about what these different... Because one I didn't mention, which is a new play, is Hatchback. So I want to go into more detail. So there you go, Bill. Now give us a little bit about your experiences lately with Infusionsoft.
As long as you talked about next week too, I want to throw in next week. I'm going to do some studying up because I'm going to try to use it this week. Some retargeting, and basically retargeting is when they pop into your website and there's some little tools, and you get on Facebook, YouTube, you get image impressions. They're very inexpensive, very effective. So I'm going to study this week about retargeting and actually apply it. So hopefully, depending on who we have for guests next week, we'll talk about some retargeting too, right? The whole gamut.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me talk about Infusionsoft. I bought Infusionsoft. First of all, about a week or a half ago, I was listening to John Lee Dumas. I listen to his show from time to time, and he made a comment that I thought was really unique. He said, "I'm happy I have Infusionsoft, but I got it too soon." Anyone who knows who John Lee Dumas is, he raced out of the boxes with 3,000 people in his built and has a big organization, makes a couple $1 million a year with his podcast, which is a daily podcast. But he said he got it too soon. It's he and Kate, who he works with, they run that together. I think Kate does most of the work. But Infusionsoft, it takes a lot of work. It costs at least a couple $100 a month, plus $1,000 plus up front. So it's a big investment, but he's happy he has it. It does a lot of things. But initially, you definitely don't need it. Maybe for a long while, you don't need it. If he didn't need it for a while, I don't think the average person needs it. So Aweber probably is one of your better platforms to start working with. You've got a couple you've mentioned. Of course, you can start with MailChimp if you just want some mail handling, which is basically free to start with. That said, I think that's enough to beat on Infusionsoft. I may be going to a 2-day conference in Santa Clara this week. And I'm going to stick with it for a while, but in retrospect, I definitely wouldn't have got it as soon as I've got it. It's a difficult one. And then one other point too, kind of bothers me. I use Lead Pages, and the API is not working right with Lead Pages. Lead Pages offered to get in there and look at it and try to fix it, but Infusionsoft wouldn't help me at all. He said, that's not our product, yet they jointly market with Lead Pages. They jointly do webinars with them. So Infusionsoft, if you're listening, fix it.
Well, he's getting a bit hot in the collar, folks.
Fix it. I pay too much money for them or API not to work with Lead Pages.
No, but you are right, Bill. That's not good enough when they actually market together, and it's supposed to be a Rolls Royce system.
Yeah,
and
you pay for it.
You expect to get Rolls Royce support, don't you?
Yeah, supposedly they have $54 million of investors' money injected into the system, capital. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, but personally myself, I think your comments about it are spot on. Be truthful about it. If I was really going to look at it, I'll probably, if I wanted to really go down that road, I'll probably, like I say, I think Rainmaker are looking at to become that anyway. And you got HubSpot. The problem with HubSpot, I must warn people this, Bill, is that if you, in my experience, if you do sign up for them, they will never leave you alone, Bill. They
I hate that.
They want to manage a lot of their services, and they've got an extensive team. So they offer where you're managing it, but they actively want to manage at a much higher price. And they will never leave you alone. You will literally get bombarded by email and phone calls by the HubSpot. They might not like me saying this, but this is my experience.
I think it's good we talk about these things because this is more than WordPress. This is about getting your business going, whatever level it is. Well, Jonathan, we've gone over for today. I'm sure this is going to be an okay show. Okay.
Well,
I tell okay to Jonathan. He doesn't get it. Okay means okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, but what we're going to do is probably next week. Next week we will go into more detail about these 4 products, right?
Okay. And stay tuned for our commercial. That's good enough. Aloha. Aloha. Turn it off right now. Aloha. YouTube's got at least 27 minutes.